Hey, Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast. I'm your host, Clemetra Deshay. This is my special guest, Sybil Stewart. And I'm gonna go ahead and forewarn y'all. My voice is still messed up. I told somebody what was going on with my voice, and they were talking about the Sahara dust. I was listen. We ain't got time for that. Like my voice has been messing up for 2 weeks. But anyways, I'm laughing, Sybil, because like you see my face before I hit record, and you and your boyfriend playing rock paper scissors on the phone.
Yeah.
How do you play rock paper scissors on, like, you just send a piece of paper, send a rock, or scissors? Like, how does that work?
Like literally you send whatever hand thing it is you're doing, rock, paper, or scissor, and you text it to the person and you're like, ready, done, send.
So
And
did
so
you see my face before I hit record? Because then I realized, oh wait, we're playing rock paper scissors on the phone.
we
That
really
is
are.
absolutely hilarious. You got to
And
keep it.
then so whoever wins or loses, depending on, how we feel, has to do something. So yeah.
Dinner's on you. I don't know. I guess.
Right. It's like whatever, you buy dessert. Like
That is hilarious. All right,
yeah.
so well, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Oh my gosh. So thank you so much for having me. I think first of all, I try to tell people that this is not even me. This is all God. Like this entire business framework, everything. I believe I am the chief steward. I am not the CEO. God's the CEO. I just happen to be the human running this part of the infrastructure. And so I specialize in helping female founders and boutique business owners grow and scale their brands through creating brand experiences and optimizing their brand infrastructure. So everything from making sure client engagement looks the way they want it to, making sure that they have a good client retention practice, and then I tie metrics to everything that they are working on to make sure it's scalable as well as sustainable.
Okay, so this is not my first time meeting with Sybil. We've had a conversation before, so I know a few things, but I'm gonna ask her to share a few things with you guys because I think that experience in a lot of cases is so pivotal as far as like who you're working with and where you're getting your information from. And Sybil told me a little bit about how she got into, because you are an entrepreneur, you do this on your own, like this is your business, but you used to be in corporate America. And so without going into the places that you can go into with that conversation, tell us a little bit about your journey through corporate America and how God pivoted you into doing this on your own.
Yeah, I just don't think corporate America is designed for anybody. And if you look at history, because I'm also an economics professor, and so I look at it not only from a business perspective, but a history perspective is humans were never designed for corporate America. It was definitely made to turn people into systems, but we don't function that way. We're creatives. And so I spent my time in corporate America trying to, quote unquote, fix the broken system. And what I tell every single person is it's not designed for us. It's not designed for people who know they're here on earth to create, who are supposed to be doing something new or trying something new. And anytime corporate America wants for you to fail, and I take this right back to biblical principles. I said, what do? They put you in exile. They turn you in that person, that department of one to make sure you're isolated and alone, to make sure that you don't have support or community because we as humans function in community. And so anytime I see somebody bragging about how they're the first or the few or the only, I'm like, that's by design. You're in the wilderness and you don't even realize it. And I'm speaking from me. I was in the wilderness in the workplace and I didn't realize it because I was at the top of my career. I was a senior director at the organization, a department of two, but the second person was really a shared service person. So really I was in a department of one. And that's where they want us when they realize that we don't fit in the mold. And so I nearly had a stroke 3 years ago. And I tell everybody all the time, a stroke at 40 is not even cute. But what was really worse is the medical gaslighting and the misdiagnosis because I was showing so many different signs of different things that no one doctor would sit down and have a conversation with me. And so the day I went to the hospital, because I was having really bad migraines, they were like, Miss Stewart, what's your lifestyle? What's going on? I'm like, I run 3 miles a day. I'm 95 plant-based. Like I'm rattling off the right things. And they said, we just want to make sure you don't have a stroke. And I was like, a stroke? Like, what? This doesn't even sound right. And so often I think we as women confuse stress with other things. And if we don't know how to advocate for ourselves, we will get misdiagnosed, which is what happened to me. They told me I had anxiety. They told me I had depression. They told me it was my hormones, right? Like they just kind of slapped things. I'm like, it's none of the above. And had I not continued to advocate for myself, I don't know if I would have lived past that day. And not everybody has the education that I have. And then I'm really blessed because not everybody has a sister who's a doctor. And anytime they told me something that was confusing to me, I would text my sister and say, hey, does this sound right to you? And she was like, no, that sounds like a lawsuit. Okay, bet. Let me go ahead and
Oh.
yeah. And so, God came to me in a dream. I did not have anything about starting a business on my mind. God came to me in a dream one night where I was super sick. Like I kept passing out, like my blood pressure was just so high that I just kind of kept falling into unconsciousness. And he said, if you want peace, you have to leave the job. And I know a lot of people are conflicted when they hear from God because God means immediately. He doesn't mean on your own time. And so I had literally just bought my house, right? So just to frame this for people, right? Like, let me help people understand. I had just bought this house that I believe God blessed me with. In less than a year, God is saying, you got to leave this job. And I'm like, the same job that blessed me with the house and da, da, da. Oh, okay. So, that's where I was. He said, start this business, create safe spaces is what he told me to. And he said, and go out and speak. But what he also said, and I say this because this is such a taboo conversation as well in our Christian communities, is he said, you can't drink anymore if you're going to be a representative of me. And just to make sure that I was a good listener, I actually tried because I was not a good listener. I actually tried to have a drink a couple of days later and it tasted like poison. And God came to me again and he was like, I told you. I told you you can't use your voice if you are not of sober mind, tongue, and heart. Like he straight up was like, didn't I tell you not to drink? Let me fix that for you.
Oh, baby, because that's funny when God speak and we aren't necessarily fully obedient. Like we were like, okay, God, was that you? Was that not you? It's so funny how God would be like, I
No, it
told
was
you.
me. Yeah, like we talked about this, right? So
Oh my gosh. Like it's just like and it's like, ooh, Lord, I'm sorry. And immediately, of course, there's repenting. There's repenting and there's just wanting to get back on the right track. Man, you said so much in the things that you just said previously. First of all, I make this joke because it's really funny. I got on I was in Clubhouse and one of somebody that I know in her room on the stage, and everybody that got on before me was like, God told me to quit my job. God told me to quit my job. God told me to quit my job. And I said, well, honey, God ain't told me to quit my job. God told me to stay. Where to quit my job at for me? And so you said God told you to leave. I think it is such a testament to who God is when He speaks to us in a manner where He needs us to trust Him,
yes.
because we have all of these things that depend on the income that we are getting from our job and the stability that we have in that job. And He's like, yeah, that job ain't nothing. Cattle on 1,000 hills. Trust me. I'm going to get you through to what it is that you need. And so I know you sat with that one for a minute, like, oh.
I sat with it for a very short minute because I got out the hospital on like a Thursday. That Friday, my boss and the rest of the people who were on the team that I worked on, they started messaging me and emailing me, acting like things were on fire. And I'm like, there's no way things are on fire this fast. I was like, there's just no way. And so then that Monday, I got ready to go back to work and I was like, hey, here's what's going on, with me medically, et cetera, et cetera. And they just started like isolating themselves from me. And then a couple of days later, I get the, very cryptic email, we need to see you. I already knew what it was about. But in that meeting, and again, this is a testament to knowing how to pray for yourself. I think that was the first time I really learned how to pray for me and over me. Um, But I'm in this meeting and they're just throwing lie after lie. Okay, you're a poor performer. I've never been written up. Y'all just promoted me. Y'all just gave me extra money. Y'all, right? Oh, we were going to tell you later that you were a poor performer. You've got poor XYZ habits. You're making the other team look bad when you show up to work on time. What? Since when is showing up to work on time a ding? Um, we didn't like how you kept asking questions during the staff meeting. Well, isn't that the time to ask staff questions? Well, you should know those answers because you're an executive. I was like, but the other executives are asking questions too. Like this is, but here's the thing. God said, be silent. So the whole time they are lumping all of these things at me, I could literally hear God say, shut your mouth. Because God already knew I got clapback spirit, right? And then he humbled me, which I think a lot of us struggle with when we're high performers and we're highly educated and we've done all the things. And he humbled me in that moment. Jesus said, take this cup from me. And I did not. And he said, I'm not going to take this from you either. I had to suffer. And I know we take it very lightly when we say, God, make me more like you, I want to be more like Jesus. That was it. Jesus had to be so humbled to die on a cross, totally blameless. And there I was in that chair, totally blameless. And he said, pray for them. And in that moment, I was praying for them while they were attacking me.
Oh, girl, that is so powerful and so true. This is a very serious moment, but I gotta say this. There are songs by what group is that? I can't remember what group it is. But sometimes if you sit and you listen to the songs are like I want to be tried by fire. Like, do y'all really know what that means?
You know what that means?
Girl, do you really know what that means? And one
No.
day I was singing a song and I was like, whoa, hold up. Because it's so true. God will not take everything from you. And I was having a conversation with God about that. I think a lot of Christian women think that not Christian women, Christians, period, think that the Christian walk is easy and
Nope.
that in this Christian walk, we're not gonna suffer some of the things that we're suffering. And anytime that we're in trouble, God is going to come and he's going to pull us out and he's going to, he's going to rescue us from that situation. And it's not that God doesn't come and he doesn't like rescue us in a sense, but what he does is he gives us the strength and he gives us the mindset and he gives us the peace to walk through the fire. It is not just that he's going to pull you out of it and he's going to shut everybody's mouth. He's not going to do that. And in situations where we find ourselves being attacked and God is telling us to be quiet, it is those moments where he is reminding us that we are his ambassadors and that we have to honor him in the situation. And we can't honor him by bickering. We can't honor him by pettiness. And as I'm speaking, it's reminding me of so much that's going on in the Christian community right now with the bickering and the pettiness on the platforms. I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? But anyways, listen, let me draw that one back a little bit. I think that is such a powerful testimony as to how God had already prepared you.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it in that sense, he prepared you so that you wouldn't have your heart completely shattered and broken in the situation when you were sitting there on Monday, because you know that he had already had a plan for you. And whoa, yes, God tends to do, I mean, even with Jesus, Jesus knew that he had a plan. And when it came time for the persecution and the crucifixion, he was like, Lord, if you will deliver me from this, then please deliver me from this. But if not, your will be done. And because I am surrendered to you, I am going to honor you in this situation and I am going to hold my peace. And what a transformation moment for you to be able to say that you sat there and you prayed for the people that were literally sitting right there in your face, throwing lies at you and attacking you, and immediately shield of faith. Because when the enemy starts throwing those darts of fire, you got to have faith in who it is that God has called for you to be and who God is, to know that those darts of fire are not going to hurt you. But anyways, you were cracking me up about your sister being a doctor. Your sister said, no, that sounds like a loss.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's everyday life for people who don't. I used to work in a pharmacy. I used to be a pharmacy technician. And
Yeah.
I remember people bringing their prescriptions up there, and I would ask them, do you know what this medication is for? And they'd be like, no, the doctor just told me to take it. And I was like, I would tell them because it would break my heart. I would tell them, you have to ask your doctor why you're taking this medication. As well, you have three different doctors, and none of them know what each other are prescribing. You have to be able to communicate that between the three of them. You have to be your own advocate. But there are a great number of uneducated people, as far as medical history goes, who are
Yes.
unable to advocate for themselves, and they end up causing more harm or disaster to their body and to their health. So very detrimental. I'm so glad that you have the wisdom and the education to be able to do that. But girl, let me get back to this. You said that the system was structured to put people in systems and not have them be creative. That might not be exactly verbatim how you said it, but that is essentially what you said. And that is such a powerful statement in its own, because what God called you to do is to advance the kingdom through the creativity process of the people and pull them out of the systematic thing. And man, how do you feel about that?
Um, Remember that humbling moment in that meeting? Immediately thereafter, because I think the other thing you said it earlier is when God calls you to that thing, he has to break all the parts of you that were never yours. So he had to break me of my ego and my pride. And I never thought I was a prideful person. And he was like, "Oh, you don't think it's you too? Like, boom, here's all your pride." He had to prune the people around me for me to see that they were not who he wanted in my life. He had to purify how I was thinking, not only from sobriety, but like every other thing that was a toxin that I was inviting, right? Because I was inviting this stuff into my life. And so everything from the stuff you watch to the stuff you listen to the stuff you expose yourself to, right? Like he had to literally take all of that from me. And there's one song, talk about songs that you sing and you don't know really what it means. There's a song that said, "Break my heart for what break yours." And my heart started breaking. Like I cried for probably 3 or 4 weeks straight because every time I thought about something, I was like, oh my God, that thing broke God's heart. Like it literally took me out to realize just how lukewarm I was being when I thought I was being above board. And that broke my heart. Oh Lord, I broke God's heart all over again. So, yeah, it takes going back to exactly what the scripture says of having that childlike faith to go and do what he says, to go do. Are you going to seek the kingdom and his righteousness first, or are you going to show up and do what you feel like doing? And, are you going to keep checking God in the parking lot or the elevator or right before you walk in the office? So that's what he took me. That's my testimony. That's what he took me through before I could even serve because I didn't know what serving well looked like. I thought serving well was 18-hour work days, working around the clock, churning and burning stuff out. And God was like, I didn't pull you out of corporate for 18 hours to then put you in a business for 18 hours. And so then that's when I realized if I was going to be a business owner, I couldn't be a business owner as usual. I couldn't follow traditional, business practices. And so
Okay,
it,
so well, hold on now, because my
um,
goodness. That was so, like, that right there was a mic drop. Because when so many people start their business, Jesus, when so many people start their businesses, they follow like the most popular tutorial, the most popular 10 ways to blah 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 blah. And I remember just thinking there's no way that people can, I mean, people like devote their entire time daily into pouring into a business. And what you just said, I think is so liberating for any kingdom entrepreneur that is trying to get this business going, is that like that's not what God called you to do. He called you to be effective in what it is that you're doing, and being effective doesn't mean that you always have to take like your 24 hours a day and 20 hours of the day you're working. You know what I mean? That was so powerful. And ugh, it was such a testament of when we go to church, we go to church to fellowship, we go to church to commune with one another and to learn about God, but the transformation process does not happen in the church we walk out this transformation process every single day. And you said for weeks you cried. For weeks you realized that there were things that you were doing that was breaking God's heart. And that is true repentance. That is true transformation. That is true change. Baby, I know some Christians gonna fight you on this
That's
drinking situation.
that's fine. That's fine because maybe God didn't call them to speak, right? Maybe God did not call them to evangelize. Maybe God did not call them to extol and proclaim because you cannot be in proclamation if you are not clean and sober in spirit. So they can have
I
whatever they want.
struggle. I don't drink. Like I don't drink. I've never been like a heavy drinker. Well, okay. When I used to go out and club when I was younger, of
Right.
course she did. She ain't gonna lie, she did. She definitely did that. But I don't drink.
Yeah.
And anytime like me and my husband go away or something, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have like a small, I can have a small drink. There's so much conviction there.
Yes.
And so finally I was just like, what is the purpose of it? What is the point of it? Just don't do it, right? But I struggled with that for so long because you know what you feel in your heart, but then other people are like, oh, it's okay to have a drink every now and then. It's okay to do this every now and then. But I'm gonna say this for anybody who's listening who's also struggling with that. Like God will take you through that process.
Yes.
One thing that I've learned is not to change my behaviors or to change my direction based off of what other people say. Whether I think it's a good thing or whether I think it's a bad thing, I have to go to God and God is going to walk me through that process because people will switch around their whole lives for something that people like a weight that people put on them and not the instructions that God gives them. So if this
Right.
is you struggling with that, take it to God. God's gonna walk you through the process. But I do agree with Sybil having a drink. For me, anytime I do it or anytime I have done it, it brings a sense of conviction. Like I don't drink, and then people will look at you like you're slap crazy, especially coworkers. They'll
Right.
look at you like you slap crazy when you be like you don't drink, and it's almost like they be like, oh, you think you're better than them? No, it's not that I think that I'm better than anybody else. I just hold myself to a different standard.
Have a
So the
difference.
cleaning process, the resting process and the work. Okay, I'm sorry, you were saying so much I had to jump in there for just a second because you were talking about the work that God was allowing you to do through the creative process of other people, and that is such an important work. And so for you to be able to effectively do what you're doing, the rest aspect of that or the portion aspect of it, of how much time you actually put into it, was so pivotal because you would burn yourself out trying to allow God to do a work through you and to other people.
Correct. But see, but the Bible says, what, again, and it says, take my yoke upon you because it's light. So anytime business starts to feel real heavy, that means I'm trying to do it on my own strength and not in tune with his purpose and alignment. Anytime I'm like, ooh, today's show was rough, I caused that roughness. And this is not to say that things aren't going to be difficult from time to time, but even in those difficult seasons, he's already equipped you because he called you for that thing. And since we all believe that supply comes before need, oh, well, God already saw this need. That means I get to let that need go real quick once I realize it's a need. Because either he's going to equip me to do it or he's going to bless me with somebody who is going to be walking in the spirit too. And we are going to agree and we're going to walk, in step together. And so that's what I've learned. And so many women in business that I partner with are so afraid to let other people into their business. They refuse to get a business coach. They refuse to hire for help. They refuse to ask, anything of anybody because they think they've got to carry the weight of the business, but nobody can build a business as a solopreneur. Like, are you buying your stuff from yourself? At some point, somebody is going to be in your business. And so we're sold such a false narrative about what it means to be an entrepreneur. And so I'm so fortunate that I have a community of women that I'm building because God told me also to build a community, which is really funny because I've never been a joiner. And he said, but they need you just as much as you need them. And so I started building my community here locally because, in the Acts 2 church, what it say? It said the fellowship of believers would gather and they would bake bread, they would pray, and they would experience God's favor. Oh, so that's all I got to do, God? Bring them together. We're gonna eat some lunch. That's it. No, I'm serious, right? Like, don't overcomplicate the scripture.
That's where do you say?
That's Acts 2, the Acts 2 church.
No, where do you say?
Oh, Durham, North Carolina.
Durham, North Carolina. All right. So you have a community in Durham, North Carolina.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I intend to continue to grow it. And then the other thing that the scripture talks about very specifically is we should all have 8 streams of income. And that's in Ecclesiastes. It says you need to have seven, no wait, 8, because you do not know what troubles will come upon the earth. And so many entrepreneurs can't get past that first stream of income. And so anytime something happens or the business ebbs and flows, they're not ready with their umbrella of opportunity. And so that's also one of the things that I help business owners figure out is how to add those additional streams of income without them suffering from adding it, right? It should be multiplication, not adding another task.
That's that. Like what you're saying is important in the aspect of it's truth. It's not apart ooh. It's not apart from what the world teaches, but the kingdom view of it, the kingdom explanation of it is you don't have to burn yourself out. God has already prepared a way. And so
Yes.
the world teaches you you need to have all of these multiple streams of income, but they don't teach you how to rest. They don't teach you how to rest in the promises of God, how to rest in the peace of God. And so what you see is business owners like literally tying themselves out. And you're saying that God has given you strategy to teach. What is your ideal client? But to
Yes.
teach your ideal clients how to thrive in the businesses and in the different revenues of income while also resting in God and allowing God to open the door and to do the thing. But
Correct. Because traditional business is going to tell you to build a ladder. God says you're in a garden. You need to be creating an ecosystem. So I tell them we're not doing offer ladders. We're not doing all that foolishness. I said ladders are very unstable. But what does
facts.
God say? You're supposed to be rooted, planted, and seated. That means it's going down, not going up.
Oh, girl, listen. God gave you so much wisdom and strategy with for this business. But what is your ideal client?
Yeah, so primarily I work with small to medium boutique firms, definitely in the sustainability phase, because we only got one Earth and we need to protect it. So I do a lot of work with circular fashion, slow fashion designers, as well as boutique business owners who have secondhand apparel, that sort of thing, because clothing production is very hard on the environment. And I think so often we get really excited about our Sheen haul or our Temu buy, but there, if you look at production of clothing since the 1980s versus today, it has quadrupled. But we have not quadrupled our population, right? Like nobody's wearing all of those clothes. So what's happening is we're bulk buying materials that cannot be recycled, they cannot be upcycled, they cannot be reused, and then we toss them away. But where's away? Away is inside this country that you don't know exists, you're never going to visit, and now our gorging is their pollution problem. But we're okay with it because it's not in our backyard. And so I work with so many secondhand, clothiers and working in that sustainability space with nonprofits that are helping to figure out how to contain our waste because we're the problem. What do we do with it?
Hmm.
Like you gonna send it into the SpaceX to the moon, to the Mars? No, you can't do that. And so if we really look at where our waste production goes, it makes you shop differently and think differently. And I say that also because, there's so many policies right now. Um, about clean water. Well, those plastics, those things that can't break down, they're going into our water cycle. They're already in there. So now our water treatment are more harsh than they have to be to try and get that stuff out of it just so we can have healthy drinking clean water. But that's our problem. Meanwhile, the people who are getting our waste don't have any clean water. So they're literally drinking the clothing water with the dyes and the unnatural materials that we produced and we no longer want. And that's just not okay for me.
Oh, that's so deep. That's a whole nother conversation. My goodness. I've honestly never really looked. I've seen some of your posts on LinkedIn talking about a few of those things. I didn't know it was something that you were really, I love how you've been able to delve into something that was passionate to you, and really make a difference in that as far as like the clientele or the people that you work with that are able to help what it is that you are passionate about. That's actually really incredible. And I think more conversations about that should be had because you don't think about that. Like, you don't really, you know what I mean?
Nobody's thinking about it. They just think, oh, I want this thing in 5 different colors. And if you look, there's no real return process. And now what is, I'll go ahead and call them out. I don't care. Now what is Amazon saying? Amazon is just saying, oh, just keep it. But what do you do when you just keep it? You're not wearing it. You're throwing it away. You're donating it. You're doing all of the things, but they're no longer saying it's their problem. Now it's your problem because you ordered it in 10 different colors in 5 different sizes.
But they'll refund you the money.
But they'll refund you the money because, again, they don't want that to be on their hands. And so there are a lot of tech companies that are coming up with these new technologies for you to size yourself better so that way you reduce waste. There are a lot of tech companies that are saying, here's this other fabric. I saw a new company that came up where they're creating fabrics from pineapple peel. They're creating, you know, home bricks using recycled plastic. Like there's just so much great technology coming up right now, but most people don't know about it because it's not talked about because that's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to go back to that store and stand in that line at the mall when I got 2-day Prime that's going to be delivered in my door.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a I can see how it would not be a popular
Not
topic
popular.
for conversation. And so talking about your LinkedIn and the things that you are talking about on there. First of all, when I first met you, it was amazing, or not amazing. Amazing probably is not the word. It was a shock for me for you to say that you meet wives who are trying to build businesses and build brands behind their spouse's back.
Yeah.
And I had a guest on earlier in the season who talked about not icing your husband out of the business. And I just want to say to those women, I promise if God has given you a vision, he's given you a plan. Whenever it is time for that thing to come to fruition or to come to purpose, he's going to open your husband's heart to it. You trying to build a brand behind your spouse's back is it ain't of the kingdom. I'm
It's
just
not. It's not. It's so dangerous because, and again, I'm not married, right? Like at the top of the call, we said I got a boyfriend, not married, but I already know that if this is the man God wants me to marry, he already on board because God would not bring somebody into my life who's not in alignment with the kingdom work he has called me to do. And so I've got to be having that discerning spirit. But if you've already married this person and God put that thing on your heart, pray for God to hear through you what you're trying to do. Because I'm going to tell my daddy energy. Like, you get on my nerve, I'm like, I'm going to tell God to go deal with you.
go tell
And
us your son, yo.
I'm going to tell my daddy energy. But the other thing I tell these wives is, I'm not going to be party to your marriage breaking down because you're trying to do something that you want to do. And so then I start asking them, I'm like, is this something you want to do? Is this something God called you to do? Because if God called you to do, he's going to confirm it
Yes.
through through that covenant.
Yep. And I in the last podcast episode I was talking, and I feel like I say this all the time. A lot of people don't ask God before they get married. They just be like, "Oh, I got feelings for this person," and whatever connection is, whether it's finances, whether it's looks, whether it's family status, whatever it is, you decide to get married. And then when you come to a place of really desiring to submit yourself to God and to allow God to lead your life, and your partner is not on board, it becomes a huge problem. But the problem happens because we don't initially ask, "Hey, God, is this who you have for me to marry?" Because God has the full plan for it. And there's things that can happen in between there. I mean, there's sometimes misalignments that happen even though God told you to marry. But in those aspects, because you did initially ask God, could you marry? You can trust in His direction from that point on that He's going to lead you to the right decision and what it is that you're going to do in your life. And so, yeah, nobody wants to be a part of breaking up a kingdom marriage because of a wife's inability to determine whether or not this is something that God instructed or she instructed, and because of that situation, you ain't trusting God with the vision that He gave you.
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Essentially, yeah, you not trusting God. And so I remember having a conversation with God because it becomes it used to become very like nerve-wracking to try to figure out, should I execute the scene, should I not execute the scene? God, what is your timing on this, and what is this and what is this? And God said to me that there are some things that are his plans, and there are some things that are our plans. And although he will bless our plans, listen to him for the timing on the things that he has instructed. So you definitely have to have a spirit of discernment to know what is a you thing and what is a God thing. Because as you've already said, God did create us to be creative. Like we are, like there's ideas flowing through our heads and flowing through our hearts. And sometimes we want to put this thing on paper or put it in a book or structure the class or do this or do that. And it's not that God won't bless it, but sometimes we have to ask God if it's okay to go ahead and operate in this thing right now, because we will put a lot of weight on ourselves. We will put a lot of expectation. And as we were talking about earlier, now you got to put more time into this thing, and you're not resting or being in a place where you can collect your thoughts the way that
Correct.
you need to collect your thoughts to progress and to thrive in what it is, to thrive even in your day-to-day life.
Correct.
So that was
Yeah.
a really good point.
And I will say again, not married, but going back to just the importance of prayer. So one of the things that I also did, and I know a lot of women, let me also be clear, Sybil is over the age of 40, ladies, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put that frame right there for you, sitting on that shelf. Um, but I literally said, God, hide me until it is my time. And a lot of women are very afraid to pray a prayer like that because they think it might never be their time. And so my boyfriend and I met after I prayed that prayer because I very specifically said, God, number one, I want to keep you in this business you called me into first. And if anybody is going to disrupt that, I said, I want you to make it as so they were never here in the first place. And so I went through a period of not dating at all. And then I prayed again. I said, God, block anybody that's not for me. I said, God, hide me. Um, and then I said, God, the only way this man is going to find me is if he is seeking you first. Like he is going to have to go through you to get to me. And that's how I met my boyfriend because I had already made up my mind.
True surrender. Like you really want it. And that to me, that is true surrender. Like you're not just surrendering your spirit and your mind. You're surrendering your love life. You're surrendering your like everything, and
Everything.
asking God to lead you in that way. And yeah, people are hard because they idolize marriage. And I feel like it's easy. I love that you said that, because I feel like it's easy, or as people, how can I say that? Like people will be offended by, I've been with my husband for Jesus, how many years we've been together? Hold on, we're gonna get it together.
It's all right.
We've been together for 22 years.
Wow.
And we've been married for 13 years. I'm like, wait, let me get these years together. And we have 4 kids. So I mean, I am 40. Like I am 40. And so we've been together at a very young age. And we've gone through a lot and we've grown through a lot. But some people might look at that and be like, oh, it's very easy for you to say don't idolize marriage. I'm saying this from a standpoint of experience, that marriage ain't what you think it is. Like marriage is a commitment. When you stand up and you decide that you're going to accept the role of being a wife, it is a commitment, not just a commitment to your husband, it's a commitment to God. You have to honor God in your marriage, and you have to honor him by the way that you honor your husband. And sometimes that looks like you might want to jack up slap your husband, but you can't do it because you have to honor God. And so
Right.
sometimes that looks like biting your tongue and going go take it. Like you said, I've done that. I've gone into prayer and said, God, listen, get him.
Get him.
Get him. Like, get his mind together, get his mind right, or give me the wisdom and the understanding and the peace, because it's not always him. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's my inability to take on patience the way that I need to take on patience in a certain situation. And so I'm gonna go to God. But yeah, a lot of people idolize marriage, and I think that's real big, that you understand that I don't want it if God doesn't want it for me. That's so important. So I love that. And I pray that you stop getting those kind of clients. I can imagine like your face is kind of like, here we go again.
You know what? And I think the other thing too is I've not had clients like that in a while But what also happened, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, are you prepared to go through a clientless season? Because see, when I was serving the wrong people, God was like, well, first I got to clear the queue. And so I went without clients for almost 3 months. But here's the power of God, y'all.
After you done bought your house and God told you to quit I'm sorry, I just wanted to put it
I
in
just want
context.
everybody to understand, right? Like I'm a year and a half into this thing and I'm totally miserable. I'm like, I'm pretty sure God told me to do this. And God was like, but that's not what I told you to do. Number one. Number two, you're not serving the way I told you to serve. Got it, God? My bad. I thought I was. Let me redirect. But he had to clear all of that out, which meant I went through a period of no clients for 3 months. But here's how good God is. You don't know how money is going to show up in your business. You don't know how money is going to show up in your life. Like the random house refund from the year before when I overpaid taxes and didn't realize it. And boom, there go 2 mortgage payments. Like the lady who I'm trying to tell, I don't know who this is
Woo!
for. I don't know who this is for. 2 mortgage payments because I overpaid the taxes from when I had first moved in because they make you kind of pre-do all the things. All right, fine, here. Didn't even think about it. Um, I was at Staples, okay, and this lady was struggling to get her print job done, and I was like, I just really want some lunch today, and I'm looking at my bank account, and I'm like, there's a checking and savings problem here, and I was like, oh ma'am, all you got to do is da, da, da. And she said, let me go buy you lunch, and handed me $20, and was like, thank you so much. I would have still been in here all day. I have so many stories
God
from that
shows himself to be
3 month
faithful.
period. I have so many stories from that 3 month period of how money just kept showing up because I said, God, I am not going to worry and I'm not going to complain and I'm going to be content in every season. And I'm going to be faithful in every season. And sure enough, here go another client. So, but that takes next level faith. And I
Yeah.
tell so many people entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. You cannot do this without God.
Man, that's oh look, those weeks where you felt like you were breaking God's heart and that you were thinking, oh, that broke God's heart. I know God looks at you now and be like, oh, my daughter.
You done figured it out this way.
Yes, my daughter. That's my girl. Like, whoo, went through the process, came through the fire, and now she is heavily representing the kingdom. I think that's absolutely amazing. I was gonna get into some of these posts that you be
Uh-huh.
She's like, wait, what is it? No, just I was gonna talk about a couple of the posts that you had posted on LinkedIn, but I feel like we covered all that. The latest post that I was looking at was let's talk about purpose driven work being exhausting.
Yes.
Um, but in that post, I believe we were talking about also a mental exhaustion of feeling like you have to accommodate the world and what it is that you're doing. And that just goes along with everything that we've been talking about. When God has a purpose for you, He has a plan for you, He also has a blueprint, He has a direction, and He has a layout for you. And the world will make you think, oh, Jesus, especially in your isolation season, the world will make you think that you need to shift your messaging and shift your branding so that you can accommodate and draw more people in, but it just causes you to have the wrong clients. And whenever you pick up the wrong clients, it's like God, like you said, God gonna be like, let me clean out this queue. And so the quiz that you have on your LinkedIn that talks about, are you influencing or promoting a brand?
Yes. Yes.
That's enough to just be like, let me clutch my pearls for a minute because let me sit down and think about this. Have I altered my message to accommodate the world so that I could draw more people in? And I just remember God saying it's not about the numbers. It's not about the numbers. If you have 5 followers and those 5 followers are the people that God has called for you to impact, it's not about the numbers. It's about you executing the will of God in your messaging, in your content, so that the people that need to hear it, the people that need that transformation and need that change or need that wisdom or that growth can get it, and God can do what He needs to do through you. So I think I love what God has called for you to do. And I love that you have so much experience and wisdom and education on it.
Thank you. Yes, actually, I sat down with a girlfriend. I had not seen her since before COVID. Okay, so she and I have not seen each other in probably 6 or 7 years. And one of my social media posts, the one I did about tithing, touched her, and she was like, "Sybil, I tithed that same day. I had not tithed." She said I had not been tithing, and then I saw your post,
Mm.
and then she said to me, she said, you know, yeah, people like to respond or whatever. She said, but you don't know how many women saw that post and didn't say a word, but felt what you had to say. So don't
Conviction.
rely on how many likes or comments or shares. Like, rely on the fact that there are thousands of people who saw that message and they needed to hear it in that time.
That's a powerful message for any kingdom entrepreneur listening. And my coach told me, she said, because you know what I do, I work with kingdom wives who have marital
Yes.
problems or warfare in a kingdom marriage or nothing, just opposition in marriage. And that's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassing title to some wives. Like they don't want people to know that they have struggle. And so my coach said, your posts are not going to get the likes that you want.
Mm-mm.
Because nobody wants to admit that they are having marital issues.
Correct.
And so when I am making my post, I definitely try to sit with God and be like, okay, God, what do you need your daughter to hear today? And that keeps me from looking at the numbers, because if you don't look at God, you're going to look at everything else. And so you're going to look at the numbers, you're going to look who's interacting. But when you look at God and just be like, okay, God, is this what you want? Is this what you want me to say? Is this what you want me to do? Knowing that you're being pleasing to him, that has helped me to not look at the numbers. Because of course, when I first started coaching years ago, I used to look at the numbers. I used to be like, oh,
Yep.
oh, and it can become very distracting. It can be something that takes you off track, because then you're going to compromise and tailor your message to try to fit what you think people want to hear, rather than what it is that you know that your people are called to do. So you have, and we were trying to figure out what the name of it was. You have a YouTube, I'm going to call it a podcast. You have a YouTube podcast coming out, and I want you to tell us a little bit about that YouTube podcast.
Sure. It's called Sybil After Six. It is on YouTube. And what's really funny is I had a talk show that was on Roku for a year, but that just was not the platform for me. And so I modeled what I'm doing now into a talk show format. But yes, we're going to go ahead and call it a YouTube. It's Sybil After Six. And it's on every other Tuesday. And I talk to kingdom builders and people who are in the sustainability space. So if you are kingdom building entrepreneur or leader, because there are a lot of leaders who really are called to change the workplace inside the workplace, right? There are those. And then there are also women who are called to lead the kingdom outside of the workplace or in nonprofits. So I bring them together, we have a conversation, and then I also talk to, again, people in the sustainability space, because I know I have content and information that nobody else knows about because it's what I studied. My master's degree is in policy and environmental law. So I've been doing this stuff for 15 years now. And this is the first time where I feel like the platform and my knowledge and my experience all make sense so that I can provide an educational experience for people and at least give you information. You can't say you didn't know, that's always a really good excuse. So you can't say you didn't know that you can put God first. You can't say you didn't know you're not supposed to be the CEO of your world and your life and your business. Like you can't say you didn't know, and you can't say you didn't know how what your today's actions are going to affect the future 20, 30, 50 years from now. You can't say you didn't know because it's on my talk show. It's on my podcast.
I feel like that's a title to an episode. You can't say you didn't know.
And say you didn't know.
All right, so well, you have been such a pleasure. So much wisdom, so much information for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. And I want you to share with us anything that you're doing. I know you said you're building a community, but that community is local. Um, Ways that we can contact you, any courses or anything that you have coming up that you will be advertising for other people to join you in.
Actually, yes. So next week, is it next week? I pray it's next week and I have it correctly. I'm actually doing a brand panel with two other branding experts, and I do have that posted on my LinkedIn. So if they go to LinkedIn, and then do the slash Sybil S. Stewart. I do have that brand panel posted, and so that's going to be an amazing opportunity to learn, regardless of what stage your business is in. If you're early stage, middle, or trying to grow and scale, we will have something for everybody, as well as some giveaways and some really great content
Is it
for.
only on LinkedIn that you have the thing?
Yeah, it's a LinkedIn Live. Yep,
Oh, it's a LinkedIn Live.
yep.
I see. Okay, I got you. I got you. All right.
It is a LinkedIn Live, and so I'm really excited about that. That is coming up next week. I can't believe we're already in mid-June. That is coming up next week on Wednesday, June 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. All right. Nice. Do you have an email? Do you have a website? Anybody? How can people get in contact with you if they need you?
Yes, so my website is just my name's www.sybilstewart.com. So that's SYBILSTEWART.com.
You have given us a lot of information as to who you are and what you do, and I pray that there is someone out there. I don't want to just say I can't work my boss, but just you work with men too, right?
I do, but 99% of my clientele
Are
happen to
women.
be female business owners. And so I lean
Okay.
in
To
to
women.
supporting us.
So
Yeah.
I pray that there's a woman out there who has had her prayers answered today and would be able to reach out to you and get whatever else she needs from you because you are full of wisdom, full of life, and full of discernment as far as what you do in the spirit. And I think that is great. Do you have any closing remarks, anything that you want to say before we close out this episode?
Absolutely. So I just want to say to all of the women out there, it's one of my favorite things Maya Angelou said. Um, don't worry about your legacy because you don't know what your legacy is because it's about the number of people and the number of lives you touch, but you'll never know what that number is. So go and do the thing you're supposed to do and take action immediately. Like God is not waiting for us to be ready. He's waiting us to be available.
Powerful, 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 powerful. All right, Sybil. Bye, Kingdom Wife Mom Bosses. I am going to catch you on the next episode. Say bye to Sybil. And thank you for joining us today. Bye.